Hello to you, good sir.
Hola, my
Long
good
time no see,
mama.
Baba. Well, welcome again to another episode of Science It Works, bitches. Or no, that's the wrong one. Oceans apart. Yeah. Okay, wait, I need to check. Wait, chill out. Yeah, welcome back to Oceans Apart. It's Declan Morrisey with two R's and two S's once again, just to remind everyone. And me, Artem. We're gonna get started. So Declan, you might once you collect yourself, you can get us going.
All right, so I guess we're trying to apply all the hypertrophy talk we did last week. Really, I guess just going through like rep sets, schemes in the week, and then progressing it would kind of be like the best way to do this. Um, like in terms of reps, the really big range here is like 8 to 15 reps. Anything above that is more of like a cardiovascular endurance kind of event during weightlifting, and like will more or less challenge the heart and like supply of oxygen to the system, and not so much like the actual muscle in terms of like mechanical tension. Um, and then anything below that is really going to be like almost too heavy if you're doing it like every day. So if you're doing like heavy sets of 5 every single day, then it's going to kind of suck way too much, and you're not going to be able to repeat that week in and week out. And so yeah, that's really what we're looking for reps. Great shit. Um, then sets. Uh, Whenever I think of like sets for this stuff, it's just like progressively adding more and more sets until you can't anymore, and then dropping the sets back, adding weight, maybe some reps, and then increasing the sets again. Because sets, like increasing sets, just creates such a devastating effect on volume. Like you just don't have to add any more weight to increase the tonnage, and like you don't, but you want to keep the weight the same to get kind of the same mechanical tension as you did previously, basically. Let me see. So sets, like, really, I think anything, really, I think 2 to like probably like 5 to 8 sets. So like 2 to 8 sets is really like what you're looking at, but there needs to be at least, I think it's 2 sets of 8 RPE or more. So like only 2 reps in reserve on at least 2 of the sets. You can go more, but generally like the consensus is you want like 8 to 10 sets of volume per week on a muscle group. So like if you're gonna do legs, then day one maybe you do like, you have 2 leg days during the week. Maybe day one you do 3 sets of 8 squats, right? And the next day you do 4 sets of 10 on leg press, right? And like all these sets are taken to where you only have like 2 reps in reserve, 8 RPE. And then, from there, right, like you start, obviously that was 7 total sets of work, and then you just add a set on one leg day, and then you add a set on a different leg day, and then you just slowly progress into that 10 sets. And you can go above 10 sets for sure, but that's like really the optimal range of what you're looking at. So that's what you're looking at for sets there.
No, but just a quick question on that then. So say like I'm doing 3 sets of squats and then I'm doing 4 sets of leg press. Like when would be a good time to increase the sets? Like would you say like 3-4 weeks in, or would you maybe increase the reps first? Kind of like what's your take on that?
I guess it like kind of depends, because personally, like I think depending on how you program it, like if you were just to give a client like, okay, you're gonna do like build up to a leg press that's like 8 out of 10 hard, or not 8 out of 10 hard, but build up to a leg press where it's like 6 out of 10 hard, and then I want you to do 4 sets with every set going until you think you can only get 2 more reps. So if you did that, like I kind of feel like week 1, someone would get, 8 reps or whatever, right? And then week 2, you'd get, maybe you'd get 9 reps each set. And then maybe week 3, you'd get 10 reps each set. Or like you could program off of a 10 RM. Like personally, I do the first one because I have no idea what my 10 RM is, because the last time I did 10 RMs were like 2 years ago. So like if you know what your 10 RM is, then right, like you've been doing like the Cajun from Mass 2, and you know what like your 15 RM is and your 10 RM is, then like, or I guess the stem day, whatever, you've been doing Mass 2 and you know exactly what these reps are. Then like you could definitely you could say like, hey Artem, I want you to take your 10 RM, or like the best weight you've ever lifted for 10, and I want you to do sets of that until like you only have 2 reps left. So hypothetically, it would be until like 8 reps for you. But then like I think, after a few weeks, you'd probably get to like where you'd be performing like multiple sets of like 10 reps with that weight, because you'd just be getting stronger at that point. But I think like progressing to like adding sets versus adding reps, I feel like adding reps is kind of like maybe a little more fatiguing almost, because it's just like more and more volume per set. And at that point, like you just need to drop off, like if you're doing sets of 12, then maybe you just need to drop off the sets of 8 and keep the weight, but then add a set so that you're beating tonnage, but you're not necessarily like, like you're not pushing like the energy system demands and like biomechanics into like almost like a failure threshold. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'd add like sets as opposed to reps.
Yeah, definitely. Like the last thing, that's kind of like where I'd say is like the best way for people, at least like to start off, where say like you're doing 3 sets of 12, and then from there just dropping the reps and then maybe increasing the sets, because like that's a much better approach than just trying to increase the reps, because that's, at least in extent in the beginning, it's not gonna be the most optimal for someone who's trying to get started, or kind of like getting more into the hypertrophy work. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that one. But yeah, it's kind of like it's a big ball game where it's like, you say you always have to like kind of change it up depending on where you are and for how many weeks you've been doing a particular thing. Where it's like, when like, did you increase the sets or the reps last time? And it kind of like, it's a lot of like puzzling and kind of like understanding it. But I'd say also it's just about experimenting, because sometimes you're gonna be wrong, sometimes you're gonna be right. So it's just about kind of feeling out for yourself and trying out kind of, what if I try like now just increasing the sets and see how that goes, and then kind of just. So yeah, but it's hard though. It's definitely hard.
Yeah, I mean, increasing sets is just so terrible to do.
Honestly, that's brutal.
I mean, like even the conversation, we had like that week we both went to the 2040 from the 30-30. And like where both of us where you texted me and you said like, oh, the weight I use is way too light, like, and I sent you the weights I was going to use and you're like, no, go way heavier than that.
Yeah.
And so I did, and then like by like the 4th or 5th round I was just like, I can't bench, I'm pinned. Like it was awful. And like the reason I think, like looking back at that, was one, like I used just way too, like I went way too heavy. But the other thing was definitely that like I just think like the 6 sets was just way harder than 3 sets. Even if, I mean, the reps obviously go up by a significant amount, but like, even with the increased rest, like just the 6 sets was horrible hard.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. Cause just like that, before that you're doing like the 30, there's only 3 sets, and it's kind of when you go 20-40, like 3, I'd say like going on 3/4 set, like you're feeling it, but it's like not too bad. The 5th and 6th set, that's when it's like, even squatting or benching or whatever, even the trap bars is just like, it's barely coming up, man. You're just like pulling like, just. I feel like every time my eyes are gonna pop out like on the 6th set, especially like because the first day, like you said, I picked 2 easy weights. I was like, this doesn't seem right. Like I can go much heavier. And then I went much heavier. Like on the 6th set, I don't even think I went above like 6 or 7 reps on every single thing. I was just like, it was brutal. It was brutal.
Yeah, like it just gets stupid when you add sets. So like it's kind of, like I think, and it depends really, like because some people want to progress into sets or adding sets, and some people just are like, fuck you, we're gonna add more sets right now, and
basically,
like, and I think that's like one of the prereqs for doing this stuff is like you kind of need to be in shape, because and like perfect segue again because we're about that here on the Science at Work Bitches podcast. I mean the Oceans Apart podcast. But like rest times need to be like a minute and a half to 3 minutes. And they've found, I mean, the issue with rest times is like they've found.
Wait, for hypertrophy work?
Yeah, like they've found all sorts of shit with rest times.
I would even go as like I should say you can even go like around like 45 to 50 seconds, like from there to 3 minutes. I'd say like not even like a minute and a half. Like you can even go slower on that. But
like that's the thing. So like you can go really low and you can go really high. Like the issue is like people have just kind of said this and there's not enough context in place for me to like really confidently say like 45 seconds because I think like a lot of the studies that kind of come out about like nutrition for hypertrophy and strength training for hypertrophy are done on like people who have never lifted in their lives, and it's like and it'll say like recreational athletes or something like that in their description or the description of the study, and it's like okay, so these people play and like I didn't know what the hell that was, and then like realizing that we have recreation sports on campus that are not just powerlifting because I'm like a horse with blinders on sometimes. But like realizing like, oh, the ultimate frisbee team doesn't lift, and I never see any of them in the gym. And like the people that do like go to the gym are like going there, jumping on the bike, and pedaling for 20 minutes at like a very moderate pace that's not really that hard at all. And then they're walking out and they're like, yeah, cool, so I'm done, I hit the gym today. And those people are like, yeah, like I go to the gym when they list them in the study, and it's like, well, you've never lifted weights, during like the most anabolic portion of your life. So sorry, but anything's gonna work for you.
It's facts.
So like 45 seconds. I'm not saying you're wrong. Like I'm just saying like 45 to a minute. Like I just think is probably done on people who like don't lift very heavy.
Yeah.
And because like for sure like I could do 45 seconds rest, but you need to make sure that like the fatigue during the workout's not so high that you can't complete reps. It should be like a struggle, but it shouldn't be you shouldn't be missing reps.
No, yeah, exactly. But that aspect also comes down to just picking you're doing a specific exercise. I feel like also sometimes you almost get like too much hubris. That's what I'm looking at. You get like too much hubris. Look at my vocabulary there, man. I'm fucking going places. But anyhow, like you get like too much hubris, you're just like thinking, like say you're gonna do 4 sets. Sets of 8 on like dumbbell bench, and you're like, I'm gonna do 50 pounds in each, or that's a bit like 50 pounds in each, and then like say it comes 4th set, like you're barely completing the 8th on the 3rd, and then 4th, like there's almost zero chance you're gonna get 8. You're gonna get like 6 or maybe 7, but like between 6 and 5, let's say, like So it's also that, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like also just me particularly, I just enjoy doing the like between 45 to a minute, but it definitely is like as I said, say you should like switch up as well, like the rest as well. So you do like 45 to a minute rest for like 3-4 weeks, and then maybe try also going up and resting, maybe with the same reps and sets. Like just like I said again, like experimenting, because as you mentioned, there's not really any clear evidence on like the specific time for the most optimal way to basically get into the sicko mode. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's just like so much. There's so many ways you can progress it, and there's so many different things you can do. And like in the past, for my boy Jay Chang, what I did with him is this was like my favorite way, I think, to progress like anything is that you literally what you do is, you know, if I said do 4 sets of 8, week 1 and 2, you do 4 sets of 8 on whatever, right? Let's say it's front squat. You're doing 4 sets of 8 on front squat. You use, you know, I don't know, 185 or something like that, right? You use whatever you use. Then week 3 and 4, you do 1.5 reps on front squat with the same weight. So it's just like it's just more volume, but it's not like, but you're not walking into the gym and being like, oh, I have to do 5 sets of 8 today. It's just 1.5 reps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's just like, I think that's really fun, you know, is just punishing someone like that. I mean, improving someone like that.
Yeah. No, that's definitely like a good way, just like, you know, you're basically playing tricks with people's minds. Because definitely going in and kind of saying that like on a piece of paper or whatever, or telling them that, yeah, you're doing another rep this time on each set. It's just, it has a whole different meaning compared to just like 1.5. It has yeah, it doesn't fuck with your mind as much.
Yeah.
But like once you're doing it, it definitely fucks with you. But like coming into it, you're not really already like, oh, fuck. You know, kind of like you're excited to it, you know, so it's, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, all right. So we've gone through what? Sets, reps, rest time.
This time.
Let me see. What else can you do in a day? All right. I think that's it for like a day to day sort of thing. I guess the only other, and then I guess like the only other thing really would be probably. Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. I have a thing afterwards.
Okay. I guess like then the other thing is probably talking about like splits during the week and fatigue, and then finally like progressions through a hypertrophy phase. Question mark? Yeah. Okay. You had a thing.
Oh, I thought you were gonna.
No.
Oh, yeah, okay. No, what I was gonna say was that because I'd love to hear your take on this, but I think I know the answer, but still love to just to hear it. In that, say like I'm doing like the cable rows, and I'm doing like 4 sets of 8, and then say come set 4, and like after 4 reps, I'm just basically like using I'm basically just like I'm just going like forward and like fucking using the momentum to.
Oh, okay. I guess
like,
you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, would you say that's a good thing to do? Like, basically screwing form, just to get like those 8 reps, or would you just rather go down in weight and maintain form? What I'm saying is because like I know in bodybuilding, it's a really huge thing where it's like you're just using momentum just to put more weights.
Yeah.
And like I don't know how much it is like right now, but I definitely know it's like there's like a lot of history with that, just like just shitty forms, but just moving the weight.
I would say that it's substantially worse to use shitty form while you're doing this. You know, and really it's because like you're trying to get a full stretch of the muscle, whatever you're doing. Because at a really long muscle length, there's a great distance between like where the Z line is and where the end of the myosin head is. Or the myosin like proteins stop, I guess. And in that space, right, there's titin, our good friend titin, which is a mechanosensor. So if you can stretch that as much as you can, then titin's gonna be like, oh, holy shit, like we're stretching right now, like we need more muscle in series to stop like this massive amount of stretch from occurring. And then like obviously during the actual like concentric phase of that row, then you get like the force output to the sides, and then you're going to grow muscle in parallel. So that's kind of like, I think I just got that totally wrong because I'm really not sure. I get so confused when it's like muscles in series versus in parallel, and like series elastic components and parallel elastic components, but whatever. We're going to move past that because I hate that shit. Anyways. I actually really love that shit. But anyways, yeah. So you're just gonna get the muscle to grow if you go with a really full range of motion and good movements. And that was a great point. Thanks, Artie. So basically, there's two kind of ways you can move. Speaking of parallel and series elastic components, there's two kinds of ways you can move weight. Like, so if you can just like, if you rapidly stretch out, and like everyone I think has seen like the Olympic weightlifters who just like drop into the bottom of the squat, like it's, I mean, really like they're trying to strip for you in front of them. They're trying to strip for you. Like they just hit the bottom of the squat and then they bounce out of it. They're using like a supreme amount of like tendon and ligament structure to store and then release elastic energy to get out. But if you pause, then it's just all muscle, baby. So if you can kind of like if we're going with the row, like you can kind of control it down, and then you just pause right here, and then at like full extension, and then bring it right back. Then you're like gonna murder your lats like you've never felt before. It's horrible because you're using entirely muscular contraction to drive that weight back. So it's pretty good. So that was another point. It's like adding pauses in makes everything substantially harder, but more better for muscle. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's it for like a day, like the individual day thing.
Just a quick thing down that, like, so with like say with the if I'm benching, like, unless I'm competing in powerlifting, would you just tell me then to still work on just like kind of coming down, stopping, like kind of keeping it there, and then pushing up, or would you just say like kind of benches, like little like momentum, maybe having a little bounce off the chest? Like, does it really matter if I'm like, because I'm not competing in this scenario.
Right.
Like, I'm not competing. I'm just an average person who likes to work out, and I'm going to the gym. Like, would you tell me, what would you say to them?
I would still say to pause it.
Yeah.
I would definitely. I mean, like in that scenario, like their feet are elevated on something, like they're not benching like a powerlifter benches. So like I would still have them pause it. Yeah.
No, I thought you were gonna say that. I just wanted the people to know. There's just to hear.
Thank you, Baba.
Thank you, Baba.
Yeah. So now I guess we're on to like weekly splits, right?
Yeah, because I think we've covered everything like in a day. So yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
All right. So I mean there are about 3 million ways to do this thing. If you can hear my cat meowing in the background, I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought that was your girlfriend.
No. That was a weird joke.
Okay.
Let's
be serious. Let's be serious.
Okay, serious. All right. So weekly microcycle. So I mean, you can go like full body, upper lower body. You can go, back and tris or back and biceps. Like really, like whatever works for you, as long as one, you're maintaining training frequency, and two, you're getting that sweet number of like 8 to 12 sets per body part at 8 RPE. So like, whatever works for you, like realistically, because, I just think like the training frequency is the number one thing you need to uptake. Like, because if really like I like upper and lower, because if you're super trained, then actually like your anabolic window, I believe, is, or well, not anabolic window. It's a terrible phrase. I shouldn't have said that. The increase in muscle protein synthesis, I believe, is elevated for 24 to 48 hours after your workout. So because I'm, pretty trained, if I did like Monday, if I did legs, then Tuesday I do arms. And then, that Wednesday when I do legs again, boom, like I still have an anabolic window that's open. Fucking A. Muscle protein synthesis increased that's still open during, like on Tuesday or on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that one works really well. That and you're training 6 days a week, and I'm very addicted to training, personally. So like I could probably go to the gym 7 days a week if it was really fun for me. Like every day was just like a novel experience, but um, either way, like you can definitely go like 6 days a week with that approach, which I think is like the money shot there.
Yeah.
So I think upper lower is probably like really, really good. Full body, if you're kind of short on time, like works tremendously well, but it's also kind of just like such a hammer. And progressing that after some point would just be god awful.
Yeah, but I feel still like I feel with the full body though that would work. If you're working on maybe like 2-3 times a week. I think if you're
Yeah,
doing more than that, definitely split it up into upper, lower, or even just targeting muscle groups, kind of like that. Because otherwise, yeah, full body is definitely like that. You're not really gonna be able to recover. Like if you're doing the full body 4-5 times a week, like damn son,
yeah,
you're gonna be cooked, and two, like progressing, yeah, it's not gonna be fun.
yeah. If you're doing full body 5 times a week, I want to meet you
Yeah,
because like you must either be just stupidly able to recover, or like you're just like really weak. And I'm not sure which one it is. I'm gonna go with really weak, personally.
I could honestly, I could see Johnny doing though, like 5 times a week, full body.
Yeah, I think he'd die though.
Eh,
I
yeah,
think I
yeah,
think honestly, he definitely could do it, but he's what, like 140 pounds or something like that.
yeah, like 140, 45.
Yeah, and he squatted like 325 and benched, I think, like 215 with a pause, but can bench 225 without a pause,
Yeah,
and can deadlift something dumb like 385. I
yeah.
might be overshooting his deadlift by a lot. I don't remember what it is.
No, no, but I remember it was like it was at least like 350 for sure, like
Yeah,
minimum.
he I feel like he got 365 or 370. Like it was just something absolutely stupid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like for a 140-pound human being who just started strength training. Like it was just something stupid.
yeah.
And so like if I think if he would definitely be down to do that, but he would die with that level of strength. I think in his little body, like he would die.
I
Um,
honestly.
you know. So, but yeah,
Dude, also just a quick thing. Like I want to say to everyone, like if you're thinking about doing mass or like mass two, switch out the kettlebell thrusters or dumbbell thrusters into like the bar thrusters. That shit is much more fun and much harder.
I believe it's pronounced thruster and not truster, but
I
we'll
that you are wrong. So I'm going to neglect what you just said and keep going with my life.
okay. You know what? While we're on the subject of saying everyone, I am honestly shocked at the amount of people that have told me they listen to this. So if you're listening to this right now, thank you very much.
Yeah,
And, and we love every single one of you. So yeah, I
no,
don't know where we were at.
no, no. Honestly, man, just like to add on that, like massive, much love to everyone, but I'm so shocked like the amount of people have told me like they actually listen to it, actually enjoy listening to like it's actually better
Yeah.
than it's going to be. It's actually quite shocking, but at the same time, like you're insulting us, but you're also complimenting. So like, I don't know, but yeah, dude, it's
Yeah, I didn't think. Yeah, I didn't think this was gonna be where it was at. 2 episodes in, with the third being recorded currently.
we'll see.
Anyways, all
Okay,
right, your
back to
stupid,
this.
your stupid Swedish ass has 19 minutes until Chelsea starts playing or whatever.
Wow, the fact that you actually remember and everything. Wow.
Yeah, I honestly kind of thought it was wrong, and if I said Chelsea, it would really piss you off. So, anyways, um,
We should watch the game as well. We're playing Man United. We're gonna, win 1-0. Mason Mount. I'm already saying right now. Mason Mount, left-footed strike, boom, bottom corner.
all right, we'll get an update next week then. So let me see. So we were on the weekly microcycle.
We were talking about the splits, like how like the
Yeah,
upper, lower, and the full
yeah.
bodies and everything.
Like, I mean, back and buys, like, dude, whatever. Like, as long as you get that 8 to 12 sets that we're talking about, like, as long as you're hitting like the volume requirements,
Mm,
like, you're doing wonderful things.
mm,
Like, literally, like, I think that's just like the message for everything relating to hypertrophy is like, as long as you're hitting like the amount, like that 3 grams per pound or kilogram, whatever it was last time.
dude, per kilogram,
Yeah,
that's a lot. Like a
yeah,
pound.
per pound. Like, as long as you're hitting that for maybe it's 2 grams, but like 3 grams, I think.
Yeah, but yeah,
But
it's
whatever. Like, as long as you're hitting your protein requirement on the head, and as long as you're like hitting your leucine requirement on the head, which we go over last time, I think, then like you have nothing to worry about.
mm,
Like, so as long as you break it up in a way that like you're hitting these 8 to 12 sets per body part,
mm,
at 8 RPE, and like you're not dying of fatigue during all of this, then you're probably pretty good.
mm,
So like that's really what it comes down to during the weekly microcycle.
mm,
Um, zooming out to like a mesocycle of probably like, I don't know, mesocycle of like 4 to 6 weeks. You want to be, I think you want to be progressing like just under when you're starting to be comfortable. So like if you walk into the gym and you're you're Artem Brusentsov and
mm.
you're
That's not okay. Keep going.
whatever. Okay, you misspelled my name. All right.
Fair enough.
Um
Keep going. Keep going.
anyways, and you're just like a house and you're rowing, you know, 200-pound dumbbells in each hand.
Mm,
And week 1, you do 4 sets of 8. And you're just like, cool. That was really hard. Week 2, you do 4 sets of 8.
mm,
Oh, that was a little easier than last week. Week 3, okay, this is kind of okay now. Like after week 2, that's when you progress. Like right when you're starting to get just like a little bit comfortable with everything, like that's when you progress somewhat
mm,
in hypertrophy because like you're never going to be that comfortable doing hypertrophy work. So really like, and then you can pick your poison. Like if you want really like I think if someone's competing in a bodybuilding show, then they're going to be cutting. So you need to kind of manage fatigue that way. So like early on, probably adding sets is your best go-to. Then, then maybe adding reps, and then adding like decreasing rest time. Then like just progressing. That's just like a off the top of my head sort of like model for like managing fatigue, but
mm,
like just managing fatigue and like obviously like peaking someone as they get out into the world.
mm,
um and a quick kind of like little thing on that on managing fatigue and like peaking someone is that very recent kind of meta-analysis by Chris Beardsley, who's the man, um, showed that you can drop off 33%, or you can drop to 33% of what you were doing,
mm.
and you will still maintain muscle mass and strength. So if you're doing a 9x3 right
Mm.
now and you cut it to a 3x3, you hypothetically won't lose mass and you won't lose strength. So that's pretty money right there to me
That is pure money, man.
for peaking. Like,
Mm.
that's great. I have no idea if it works because I haven't peaked anyone since I've read that, and I haven't peaked myself since I've read that. So, just something interesting you could probably try.
Mm.
Just saying, like pretty good stuff. Any thoughts?
No, I
All right, so we'll just move on then. Well,
no,
that was a macro
I think
cycle.
it's actually I have nothing to contribute. Like that's just money, man. Like, there's nothing else you can say to it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And then in the mesocycle, in terms of how long you're running these things, um, a young man by the name of Ethan Grossman, who may or may not have started Iron Sports. He started Iron Sports in conjunction with Patrick Davidson. Had a really good point on Pro Research Radio the other day, which was like his mesocycles all like have specific goals to them, and it all has to do with muscle hypertrophy, obviously, because he's like trying to go to the Olympia. And I think it was just like he was going for like mechanical tension, metabolic buildup, and muscle damage. I think were his three goals in his mesocycles, which I kind of like because it kind of introduces like newer things into your kind of cycles and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I kind of like cycling those through. Personally, what I've done for people is I just do kind of like a strength phase into a hypertrophy phase. And the hypertrophy phase, like obviously if they want to get jacked, the strength phase is like 4 weeks. And the hypertrophy phase is like 16 weeks,
Mm.
Right, like it takes at least I believe this is recalling a book from like 2 years ago. So let me just go there for a second. I think it takes 3 weeks for there to be actual myofibrillar change in muscle, and then a noticeable change is 8 weeks. So 8 weeks is probably the minimum number of number of weeks you're going to run a hypertrophy phase, and probably the maximum. I would really say the maximum is like 16 weeks. Because I don't know if we talked about this last time, but at some point, mTOR becomes non-responsive or not as responsive to the anabolic signals you're sending it, and you actually need to drop off and do like some form of aerobic work to get AMPK to activate and kind of inhibit mTOR, so then you can re-up and have just the most savage pump of your life again.
Mm.
An AMPK can be done any number of ways. Like it doesn't have to be super aerobic. You can lift weights still. But yeah, so really that's kind of the macro cycle goal here, because I believe and the scientific reasoning as to why was said in the last one. We probably should have done this one and then the science one, because then I would have had a basis to go off of, but whatever.
Well, we can just say right now to the people that look at this episode first and then go back and watch number 2.
Good point.
Yeah, or we can just honestly, anyhow, people will figure out. Yeah, but it's good, Like we did talk about this in the last episode, but it's always good to repeat ourselves because people forget what we say all the
time.
Right.
Yeah. So strength phase first, hypertrophy phase is probably good second. Obviously, like you want to increase the amount of motor units you can activate to get more muscle, and more muscle means more better. So there you go.
Honestly, I just want to say that I would disagree with that, with the more better, because I would say that after I'd say around week 7, 8 of your hypertrophy phase, you're probably gonna feel that your mobility is completely whacked. You can't move. You can't do just everyday stuff. Even just sitting on the toilet hurts. Just like you can't get up.
Yeah.
Like sleeping, you wake up. So, but the good thing here is that once that is over and you start deloading or something, you're gonna get all that back, but it's gonna be not fun for maybe a few weeks, 1 or 2, maybe more.
I have a question for the Peanut Gallery. Are you basing all of this off of Pat Davidson's most recent Instagram post?
I am actually.
Oh, see, go fuck yourself, Artem.
Yeah, I will go fuck myself.
But seriously, I think if you think, I honestly think that everyone should try to don't even compete in a powerlifting meet, but just go through a really hard strength phase and then deload as if you were going to go to a powerlifting meet. That week of deload is the best week of the year for me because it's amazing. Everything he said in that post and more comes true. You can move again, you can breathe again, your body doesn't hurt anymore, you actually have energy to do things. It's awesome. And deload week, I have a deload week in 2 weeks, and I could not be more excited. Like the week I move into school, I'm deloading and I'm gonna cry. I'm so excited.
Dude, I wish that was my case. I have 4 more weeks and then I can deload.
Exactly.
Not even that, because the thing is, like, I have decided that I'm gonna like one up Pat Davidson and show who's the real fucking Pat Davidson by doing match 1 and doing straight jumping into match 2 without any deload in between. There's gonna be 32 weeks of just pure hell. So
you're gonna die.
Oh, I'm kind of hoping I will die because I'm kind of I'm done with everything, to be honest. Because like I sent to you earlier today, like my big mood today is listening to Akon Lonely. As I've been listening to the entire day, so I'm so done with humanity because yet over people. Honestly, I'm gonna say this right now. If Chelsea lose against Manchester United, I will go and just I will end my life in the next 16 weeks. I am not like I'm just so done with people keep over and over disappointing me, and just like I keep believing in people, and they just keep I'm done. I'm so done with everything. I'm checking out on life. That's what I'm saying. That is also like
Oh my god!
If they win, I'm giving myself 1 more year to live.
Oh my god!
If they lose, I'm giving myself 16 weeks. I just want to let you know right now to the listeners that this podcast will continue for maybe 60 weeks max after this moment if Chelsea loses.
Okay, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, dude. Right. But anyhow, like, back on a serious note though, like I would say honestly, like that post really hit home because I've been like complaining too much. I feel like to myself lately about like how like everything hurts. Like I wake up with back pain. I can't go into flexion or extension in my lumbar like at all. Like my spine is just like a stick, man. Like I can't do shit. Like it's bad in the morning. Then it slowly comes in, but it's bad. It's pretty bad. But
yeah,
looking forward to deloads though, man.
Yeah, I mean, man, if you train hard, then you deserve a deload at some point, like a true, honest to God deload. But yeah, I think we've gone through everything in terms of hypertrophy and like what you should do. It's clearly had very little effect on me because I'm still fat, and it's clearly had a huge effect on Artem because he's beautiful and Swedish and jacked. So 50-50, take your shot. Am I right?
Yeah, it's either one way or other. Either goes your direction or it goes my direction.
Yeah, actually, like while we're talking about how fat I am, for a second here, let's just think about this. I totally forgot to mention this in the last one, and this is probably the most important point you're ever going to make on a podcast, okay? If you're afraid of getting fat, okay, then hypertrophy's not for you. Like if you think, oh, this is going to be fine, I'm still going to have my abs by the end of this, you're wrong. Like you're going to add some fat mass. Just kind of like how it goes, bro. And, if week 2 you step on the scale and you're like, oh, sick, I am 10 pounds heavier, you just got fat. Congratulations. You're dumb. And I don't like you.
No, honestly.
That's an actual sentence someone has said to me. Really? And at the time, I was a freshman at Springfield, and he was like a junior or senior, and he was like, yeah, like, this hypertrophy phase, I've gained 3 pounds already. I just looked at him and was like, do you think any of that is muscle? He's like, yeah, fucking all of it's muscle, dude. I was like, oh, well, you're wrong.
Well, honestly, just like add on that, just like quick before we have to, get going. Yeah, like abs. I feel like abs are just overrated, man. There's no need for just. I say
you have abs.
I know, but that's why I'm like, no. Actually, the thing is, like, I've actually lost them. I've become fat, man. To be honest, like I have like around the belly, especially like, dude, like my hips. They're growing wide, man. I feel like a female.
Well,
I feel like I'm going into pregnancy. Like
It's okay, Artem. It's okay because one, you're in a serious relationship, and 2, you told me what you ate yesterday, and it was just absolute garbage. So just don't even give me that shit, okay?
No, I'm not complaining. I'm actually really happy because I deserve it. I have been, I've not been a good boy at all. So,
all right. I mean, we're at 46 minutes right now. I think we did a great job. You still have 4 minutes to get to your game. So I mean, that's really it. I think this one was probably the worst one by far. But
I think it was the best one by far because I feel like it's the most authentic. Where we opened up a bit about ourselves, and
yes, I openly admitted that I'm an addict to training. I'm
fat.
Yeah, and that I'm fat.
Yeah,
And I'm happy though. I'm
Well,
about to go eat some pancakes, so fuck you.
oh, dude, I love myself some pancakes actually.
Then I'm gonna probably go ride about, I don't know, 30 miles on a road bike. So I don't know. There's no in between with me. It's all in or all out. But
Wow. Well, God bless you, and you know what? You take us out. You finish us off this time.
okay. Well, you know what? I think it's been a pretty successful podcast. I hope everyone knows how to get jacked now, and knows a little a little too much about us. Um, Thank you very much for listening, as per usual. Dad, I know you're still there, at least. And yeah, I mean, thank you for listening. Artem, thank you for letting me do this and torturing you for 46 minutes. I wish you the best of luck with Chelsea. And, I hope to see you next week instead of, just get news that you have not made it through the Manchester-Chelsea game.
Thank you.
End the recording now.
Wait. Okay.